See, the world has a certain existence of itself. To what extent its names and forms become appealing to you depends upon the size of the void in your life. The world could be compared to a marketplace. It houses stuff, all kinds of stuff. And you're passing through that marketplace every day. The road is there, the shops are lined up on either side. You have no option but to pass through the road every day, every evening. Wherever you go, there are these shops lined up. To what extent these shops become meaningful to you? Everything in the shop has name and form, right? In fact, because they are shops, they demonstrate and advertise those names, forms quite loudly. That's what they're supposed to do. But you always succumb to the advertisements. When do those things assume importance for you? When you have a bigger void within you. So that's what I advise. Don't allow that void to exist. It does exist. Do not allow it to grow too big. Instead, live life in a way that diminishes the void. If you'll have a need within, the world will happily come promising to fulfill the need. Do you want to blame the world? What came first, the demand or the supply? The demand comes first. That's what Vedanta is all about. Why blame the supply? You demanded. The world supplied. And the world is an infinite supplier. The bigger is your demand, the thicker is the supply. Don't allow your demand to grow big. How to not let it grow big? How to not allow those names, forms, things, people, shops to become too significant? By filling up that void in a suitable way, in the right way. Because the void does exist, we are born with it. Either you plug it rightly, or you allow it to become your nemesis. Either have the right thing in your life, or become a prey to all the wrong ones. You cannot say you'll have nothing in your life. That's not possible. You lost the right that day you were born. The day you were born, you condemned yourself to companionship, identification, a purpose. Either have the right company or you'll have wrong company. Either have the right identity or you'll fall prey to wrong identity. Either have a right purpose or you'll be invaded by plethora of wrong purposes. Don't come up and say that you are not identified with anything. That's a privilege not accorded to you. If you wanted that privilege, you shouldn't have taken birth. The day you took birth, you were destined, condemned, sentenced to be identified. The best that you can have is a high identity, a sublime identity. Don't say you will have no identity. If you say you have no identity, then you are just being fooled in a spiritual way. By saying you have no identity, or maybe just trying to protect all the false identities you nurture. Have right identity, have the right company, and have right purpose. Do not start parroting that life must be purposeless. Purposelessness is the ultimate pinnacle. Don't talk of it. It will come when it has to. It has nothing to do with your blabber. As far as you are concerned, you must have a life of great and intense purpose. And if you don't have the right purpose, don't complain if life is full of wrong purposes and desires. Have the right desire if you want to avoid foolish desires. Have the right mission if you want to avoid petty errands. Getting it? There's no substitute to hard work. If you want to avoid laboring like a donkey, labor like a royal elephant. Labor you cannot avoid. Being a donkey you can avoid. Getting it? Those who want to avoid laboring at all become donkeys of donkeys, mules of mules. The world makes you labor so much. The world makes you sweat so much. You squirm, you cringe. It's not that you are being toasted to a feast by the world. Are you? If labor you must, why not labor for the right thing? If suffer you must, why not suffer for the right cause? No? Those who don't subscribe to right causes, are they all enjoying? No, they are suffering. There's no promise that you won't suffer if you live rightly. But at least it would be right suffering. And one hallmark of right suffering is that it reduces the sufferer. Right suffering reduces the sufferer. And when the sufferer reduces, how can suffering survive?
How would we know if the sufferer has reduced or is reducing?
How would you know whether the sufferer has reduced? You won't know. You know only when you suffer. When you don't have a headache, do you know that you don't have a headache? Right now, do you know that you don't have a headache? You don't know. You don't know. When you have a headache, then you know you have a headache. When you don't have a headache, you don't know you have a headache. Life becomes light. You don't have to keep knowing. You are free of thought. So many things that concern so many other people are not material to you at all. Your neighbor is thinking of how to pay his son's fees. You don't bother. You don't have a son. The sufferer has reduced. The suffering is not making itself felt. You have been relieved of so many concerns that plague so many people. You do not want to defeat suffering. You don't want to defeat the world. You want to make all these things irrelevant. They will exist, but they will be irrelevant. They will exist, but they will not exist to you. So as you pass through the street, the shops exist, but are irrelevant. That's what you want. That's an indicator of freedom from suffering. It exists, but is irrelevant. Are there adverse situations? Yes, they exist, but they are irrelevant. At least they are not as relevant to me as they are to other people, as they are not as relevant to me today as they were 2 years back. I can sleep. I'm not continuously thinking. I'm not bugged. I'm not under the yoke. I don't have to till the field of suffering, carrying the yoke. The thing is, but not for me. And then with a mischievous smile, the Rishi asks, does it really even exist? If it exists, but not to you, does it really even exist? And then you realize how the seers could say the world does not exist. At a physical level, at the Vyavharik level, the world always exists. But when it becomes irrelevant to you, then you can say Jagat Mithya. To me, it does not.